Well, I guess it's 8 o'clock. Tonight we're gonna start out. Tom is gonna do a little session on the duties of the state's attorney regarding townships. A lot of townships get kind of disappointed. Their state's attorney doesn't seem to want to do very much for them, and Tom is gonna explain a little bit of just why that might be.
You ready for me already?
Of course.
God, I just walked in the door here. Good grief. Just got my coffee. Okay. I guess it is 8:01. Well, let's see. Excuse me. Can I share a screen here?
You should be able to.
There we go. There we go. So, yeah, frog in my throat here. We get that question a lot about what can a state's attorney do, what can't they do, and I know there's a lot of frustration because the state's attorney never really wants to talk to him or won't talk to him, and doesn't know much about townships, and they get a little people get perturbed about that, and so thought maybe talk a little bit about that. And there's a reason why they don't deal much with townships, partly because under the law they can't. Um, they've got there's why is all that stuff on my screen? I can't see what I'm doing here. There we go. Okay. In the century code, they've got there's 18 plus different items that they're supposed that there are duties. They attend district court and prosecute criminal cases, and they act as legal advisor for the county commission. And so there's the first thought that that creates their conflict of interest, because they can only have the one client, which is the county. And so a lot of times unfortunately, we find the townships and counties are at cross purposes sometimes. And so they really can't be on both sides of the fence. So under the law, this is their duty. And so that's one of the reasons. More specifically, though, it's this. Section 11-1601 sub I. Okay, I is what, about 8 or 9 out of 13 out of 18. This is the only time that we mention townships. Give when required and without fee. Can't move my screen out of the way so I can see the state's attorney's opinion in writing to the county, district, township, and school district officers on matters relating to the duties of the respective offices. That's all they can do. Give you an opinion on your duties. So if you come to them and say, "Oh, we got a culvert that's blown out, and when the guys are arguing about that, what can we do?" Well, that's their duty, is to tell you what your duty is. That's really all it is. So there's not much there that gives us much time with the state's attorney. So I guess I want to put that up on the screen just so we know that, in that by law, this is all they can do, and they are advisor to the county commission. So they really have a conflict of interest if it comes to any kind of a controversial thing with the county. And even then, even then, they really can't do much other than give you their official opinion on things. And that's really all they can do. Can't represent you at all or anything like that. So just some thoughts so that there's the law. So some thoughts on here. We have rural state's attorneys and urban state's attorney. Urban, of course, Grand Forks, Fargo, Bismarck, and mine at Ward County, Grand Forks County, Cass County, Burley County. Stutzman to some extent, I suppose, Willis and Williams County to some extent. They have larger staffs, but they have more work. They're inundated with all that criminal stuff, the drug stuff and the theft stuff and all that stuff. And then, of course, they've got a lot of the zoning issues that they have to deal with. And unfortunately, those bigger the bigger counties, they don't, the people on their staff don't have as much awareness of rural issues at all. Coming out of law school, that sometimes is one of the first jobs that a lot of people get. They'll go and work for a state's attorney, and it's usually in Minot, Bismarck, Fargo, or Grand Forks, and they're thrown into the criminal court right away, and sometimes they'll get a little bit of a portfolio, but and so township stuff and rural stuff is pretty far down on the list, and so unfortunately they just don't have a lot of knowledge. My point here is, however, is that just because they have statutorily just all they can do is give you an opinion about your duties. There should be somebody, especially in the larger ones, there should be somebody that's got some rural background, somebody that has maybe the portfolio for some of these kinds of issues, and that's the person that we need to get next to and talk to and develop a relationship with. In the rural counties, it's usually it's a one-man show or one-woman show. A lot of times they are appointed, not elected, because they maybe don't even live in the county. And they're a staff of one, so they've got everything. And they might have a little bit better understanding of what's going on in the countryside. And so there too, that person, you need to develop a relationship with that person as well. Even if they can't really help you, it's okay to get to know them and be able to talk with them. And so they know what you're doing out there and they know who you are. And so there's there's a little bit of a give and take there. So I think it's pretty important that we don't view these folks as adversaries. Get to know them, understand they can't do much to help you, but at least get to know them, and maybe they can drop a comment once in a while that would be helpful. Also, on those real small counties that appoint, typically a lot of those folks are also in private practice. The state's attorney is a part-time job. And so they can do some private work. And so a township, you can hire that state's attorney on the private side to do some of your work, especially maybe on the zoning stuff, or if you draw up a contract or help you with some things like that. But you're going to have to pay them separately because under the law, if they're part-time, they can do some private work, private practice, and the township stuff would have to be deemed private for them. So that's always a possibility too. I think I got one more. Water board attorneys. Those are typically contracted people, but they're not also state's attorneys. I think there are some state's attorneys that are also the water board attorneys, but not very many. And there again, they get a big conflict typically, and so the law does allow it, but we don't see very many of that. And of course, they only deal with the state's water laws and the water commission and the federal regulators. But most of them do have a working knowledge of townships because they have to, because they're, let's face it, they're dealing with culvert issues and water issues out in the countryside. And so they do have some background with townships. And so those folks are good people to get to know too. And it always bothers me to see the water board and townships are like this sometimes, and it shouldn't be, because I always say it's the water board's water and it's township's road, so the two parties have to work together, and oftentimes the attorney that represents the water board can help townships as well. So, there again, just try to develop a relationship there, try not to be adversarial. So I think that was it, Larry. I think that's my that's the extent of my slide. So I guess I'd open up for questions either on that or anything else that we got. But um, I know that we've got some state's attorneys out there that are really very helpful, and some that are really just not at all. So, and the ones that aren't at all, I've talked to several of them over the years. And and I think, do they get our newsletter, Larry? Do you know? Or is it just the county commissioners get it?
Just the county commissioners, the auditors, and the highway superintendents or
Yeah,
engineers.
because I've had some state attorneys, they'll let me know that they've seen my articles and seen our newsletter, so they must be getting it somehow.
Some of them have asked to get on the list, and of course we put them on once they request it. We haven't gone out and gotten them subscribed
I see.
Just,
Mhm.
it's at their request that they're on there.
Yeah, and we've got some state's attorneys out there that are really very helpful, they really are, and of course, like say the other end of the spectrum, they don't even want to talk to you. I get that, but um, you got to just keep trying, and especially in the bigger ones, the bigger counties. I mean, there's typically somebody in the staff that has a portfolio for say the rural issues or even works with a certain county commission, their district or something like that. And so that's the person that you need to get next to and visit with. So
Of course, some of them have some funny ideas.
oh yeah.
Like
Well,
that
what do
one.
you expect out of attorneys? What do you expect?
Of course, they have to be on, they have to pick a side so they can be two sides to everything.
Of course, of course, of course.
We got that
And
one that doesn't think that a township can own property in a city.
oh yeah, we've had that. That was out in the western part of the state. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's one that thinks that just because a township dissolved back in the 70s, they cannot reorganize now.
Hmm. And part of that, when you think about township rules and regulations, and it is so narrow part of the law, and if you don't work in it like we do, you just don't. It's strange stuff. They just didn't know about it. So, and I guess that's part of our job as not only on the state level, but also every individual township. You can help to educate a little bit too. So if you have a question or a problem, you can help point them in the right direction. If you've got your handbook, you can say, because they don't know. A lot of times, those state's attorneys, they never even looked at Title 58, which is the township section. But
Exactly.
so it'd be helpful if you do a little research ahead of time and say, here I'm looking at this section of the law that affects townships. What do you think about this? Well, then maybe that they've never even looked at it because they never realized maybe it isn't even there. So I just that's the thing about this entry code. It's so broad and so many different topics, and so you start working in one area of that, you don't really get into the other areas of the law. And so even though they're there, but sometimes you got to get people to help educate you. So uh, one more thought too, we've had some issues with zoning, and why can't the state's attorney help us with the zoning issues? Where again, that's not in their duty list. They give an opinion. That's all they can do. They can't really work with you and enforce you with enforcing of your zoning rules or zoning laws. Um, I know we've had some people suggest that maybe we should ask some of the state's attorneys if they would take that role on, because typically they are the county zoning enforcers typically. Um, but I suspect that there again there would be a conflict because a lot of times township zoning rules and county zoning rules are at odds, and they ought not to be, but oftentimes they are. And so obviously they'd have to pick the side that they're um, responsible for, which is on the county side. So
Well, anybody out there have any questions on this or any other topic for this evening? We're here to answer your questions, so you got to bring them.
I guess for a total change of pace here, do we have any anticipations on the legislature as far as what we're gonna need to be lobbying for, or what things that are becoming come up?
Well, we've got our legislative priorities. But one of the big item is going to be uh, the property tax issue is going to take up a tremendous amount of time. There's 40 some bills already proposed, and they'll take a lot of time just sorting through those. We've got, of course, we're working on funding proposals. And we've got some other issues. We'd like to get exemption for township officers from the open meetings law when they are acting as staff, as such as when 2 or 3 of them get in a pickup and go out and check the roads in the spring to see where they need to put gravel. As it is right now, they're violating the open meetings law. And the fear is that if there's somebody that has an issue with the township looking for a chance to throw an egg at them, that would be a free shot for them. They'd be in trouble with the Attorney General right from the start. And what else was it?
Got the vacation of lots and a plat in a village. We're looking at
Right.
that.
Right. We have one-time cities that have disbanded and left streets and alleys that are no longer even there, but except on paper, they still exist. And since the city no longer exists, they're not there to abandon or vacate those lines. The county doesn't have the authority to do it, and the township has no authority over plats. So we're hoping to get a statute in there so that a township can acquire the authority to vacate those items since the city's no longer there. Basically just to get them off the title so that somebody can have clear title to the land again. And
I can
Well,
jump in on that one a little bit,
Please do.
Larry, just to explain. Now that one the originally came from out in Burke County, and the state's attorney in Burke County and I talked back and forth, and she is the one that in essence convinced me that we need to have a statute on that, because the deal there was that the street is on paper, it's covered over with grass, in a little village, and gardening or something, but the two neighbors started not getting along with each other, which is always what drives these things. And of course, then the township got involved. How do we deal with these two neighbors that are fighting? And so then they said, well, let's go ahead and get rid of this street on paper in this village, and give half to one guy and half to the other. And so the state's attorney and I out there, and we talked back and forth, and she convinced me that, yeah, really, we don't have the authority to do that as townships. We really don't have the authority to do that. So that's what kind of prompted we're going to need to put in a bill on that and try to get it in the law. And I think she's going to, as a state's attorney out there, she's going to give us a hand with that, I think, as far as letting the legislators know that this is needed, at least in her town, her area anyway. So, and when you think about it, there's a lot of these villages out there. I'm sure I could ask the people around on the Zoom tonight to raise your hands. How many of you have a village? I imagine a lot of you would. That you take care of as far as administering it as the township. The term village doesn't exist in our law. You're either a city or you're a township. But we all know what a village is. We all know what they are. And there were once towns, and then dissolved, or else they never did form a city. Been there forever, got some people, couple of houses living there, maybe an old elevator or something like that. But yet on paper, there's typically a plat with many lots and blocks and streets and alleys, and we have authority jurisdiction over the people living there because they're members of our township, but we don't really have authority over getting rid of some of those streets and alleys like a city would. So that's kind of where it came from. But there's a lot of those villages all across the state. So that's a topic that we're gonna have to take a look at, I think. So and one more that Larry talked about the township officers being exempt from open meetings, I think that's gonna be a little bit of a tougher pull because, the state, we try to pride ourselves on open meetings, but there are times when you get two supervisors are out working, they're or three of them, they're gonna do a sign survey. That they're really working in the capacity of the guys working for the county out working on the roads, and that's really what they are. And or you got two of them going out there, the stop sign's falling down, and they're gonna go fix the stop sign. Well, they're really not officers at that point in time, really not. They're workers. But the problem is because they are officers and there's two of them there, then that's a meeting, and of course they're not taking minutes, or they didn't give any notice, and so they're technically in violation of the open meetings law. So I'd really like to get that changed so that we don't have to carry on that fiction of always be saying we're in a meeting when in fact we're not. And so maybe we can get the legislature to agree with us on that. So anyway, I interrupted you, Larry, on the rest of the legislative stuff, but I thought I should talk a little bit about those too. So
That's fine. Minnesota does have that exemption for their township officers over there, and that's where I saw it in their magazine this spring when they were talking about going out to check their roads. So, any other questions out there?
Hey, this is,
Couple-
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Steve.
Hey, just heads up, one of our residents is pursuing something that's kind of interesting. I think some of you realize we tried to reacquire our zoning for Glenview Township a year and a half ago. And I was woefully unprepared for how to deal with that situation. But basically, we got shot down by a motion that denied our request for zoning reacquisition. There's some interest in pursuing that in a legislative way, I think, to create a pathway for us. Because right now, our only recourse is to take it to court.
Okay,
And we don't have the funds or the wherewithal to pursue that legal battle.
right. You tried to initiate a joint powers agreement with the county to give you back your zoning control,
Correct.
and they refused that.
Yep.
That is a danger because once the county has done it, they build that bureaucracy and they kind of love to keep it that way.
Well, it's who controls what.
Right.
But yeah, right now,
what was their reason for denying it? Did you give you a stated reason, or they just didn't want to?
well, basically, it come down to they didn't want to, but they thought it was repetitive, redundant, uh, unnecessary, that they could handle it.
Well, that's probably Burley County.
Correct. And we've got a fair number of residents are a little concerned about. We're in that distance from Bismarck now, where we feel that there's a lot of eyes looking at what they can do to the landscape out here that could change and control the landscape and the landowners. Obviously, we've got a lot of things happening now with the pipeline, but I think there's some interest in trying to pursue a more collaborative way to and less confrontational way to reacquire zoning. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, well, keep us informed. We're certainly here to be supportive of that and help any way we can.
Yeah, appreciate it. Just want to make you aware.
Thank you for that. Keep us
Uh,
in the loop so we know what's happening.
Larry, on that, in that statute that speaks to, you have to do a joint powers agreement with the county to get your zoning back. Is there any, I haven't looked at that statute in a while, but I don't recall, is there any requirements for that, or or is it's just an up or down vote on the part of the county? So we're really just subject to the county's whims on that?
I believe that's the way it is. Now, did they acquire the zoning authority through a joint powers agreement?
No,
Or the township just wasn't doing it, so it became the county's responsibility?
yeah, obviously this is some history here, but back in the 70s, I think the
Right.
township just decided, hey, there's not enough for us to do. We'll let the county do it. There's, I think at the time there was probably some similar thoughts of how to approve or approach zoning.
What if you click where your face
Right.
is?
Now, if the township and county had done it through a joint powers agreement at that time, I believe the township
don't
would
mute it.
just rescind their part of that agreement and have their control back. But since it was just, they basically abandoned their authority and left it to the county, then it would require the county and township enter into a new agreement, giving the power from the county to the township.
That was our understanding as well.
Right. At one time, that wasn't even possible. A few sessions back,
There we go.
that statute was passed to allow that. When both parties were amiable to the idea, it could be done through joint powers. Oh.
You know, one of
Anything more?
one of the things on that, in defense of the county, of a county, and that's odd. I usually don't defend counties, but but I suspect that, there are some townships that want to just get the zoning back, but then they're not going to do anything either. They want to get zoning back just because they can get it.
Right.
And got to be a little careful. It's kind of a double-edged sword. If you're going to be, and I say that to every township, if you're going to be zoned, then you have to do it. You have to enforce it. So,
Yep.
and I suspect there might be some. Not yours there, Steve, but I suspect there are some counties there's some townships out there that. That's probably the reason why counties don't really want to agree, because they know doggone well the township's not gonna do any enforcing, and that's not good either. So
True.
Well,
No, there's a bit of caveat emptor on this because you got to be careful what you ask for.
right. You don't know, well, you may have somebody willing to do the work for 5 or 10 years, but then after that, uh, oh, we're gonna give it up again and make the county take it back again.
Yep.
You can't just flip a switch on that.
Yep.
Steve,
Any,
Steve, did you have your zoning ordinance already in place, or did you go through the procedure and found out that you were denied prior, or did you go through the work to actually have your own zoning ordinance in place prior to have them considered if you had your zoning?
Yeah, we had drafted a draft zoning ordinance.
Okay.
And the powers of agreement to present, and this is where I fell off the cliff on it. I thought we'd work on it jointly and come to agreement and iron out the differences or cooperation on it. But no, it was a motion at the county commission meeting. No, we want to deny this. All in favor, say aye. And we were done.
Steve,
Yeah.
have you given any thought to, is this literally just a money grab by the county because they want that money from the pipelines and transmission lines?
No, this is
A
actually
lot of
before the
money.
pipeline.
Pardon?
This was before the pipeline was actually proposed to come through Glenview Township, but
Okay,
no, it's more about control of the land and having
Okay.
the decision space left with the county commission.
yeah, because in Grand Forks County, the county zoning guy has actively gone out to the townships and gotten the townships to sign a joint powers agreement. And there's been a lot of strong arming going on, which kind of bugs those of us townships who want to keep our zoning in place.
Yeah,
But it does seem to have a lot to do with where there's proposed industrial things going on.
well, that's kind of where Glenview Township's sitting in a
Yeah.
pretty interesting spot with Highway 83 and the corridor there and the growth that's going on Bismarck. It caused a lot of the residents some concern.
I believe that.
Anything more on that?
Thank you for that.
Well, thank you for bringing the topic.
Larry, one more item, if you wanted to cover, about the adequate bonding authority that we'll be working on also down at legislature.
That's right. We got a couple of items with the insurance reserve fund. We're working with the insurance reserve fund to change the statute or change the administration of the state bonding fund so that townships can increase their bond to reflect the actual balances that they're now handling. The current situation of limiting to $10,000 is woefully inadequate. We've had townships that have losses in 6 figures, and so state bonding funds has to be adjusted to cover those instances. Well, thank you for reminding me of that, Lee. And also, we're gonna have to be ready to support the insurance reserve fund because they're going to be facing some challenges coming from the insurance commissioner's office. Counties, townships, and cities are going to have to work together to let the legislature know that we value the product that we're getting from the insurance reserve. And it came about because the commercial carriers dumped us, and so we have to be ready to defend them now. So thank you for bringing that up, Lee. Anything else out there?
I was trying to read my notes from the Bismarck meeting. I have a couple questions. I'm not sure that I got my notes right. The annual meeting has to be posted in the county official newspaper or a newspaper. We're close. We're like 6 miles from a town with a newspaper. The county seat is like 60 miles away. So, but is that the one where we have to put the announcements in?
It's normally in the county paper, but it does say that it can be done in a newspaper published within the township, and we're not really sure what that means, since I don't think there are, too many publishers in townships, but that probably means one that's circulated in the township.
But we would have to at least have it in the county official newspaper. Is that correct?
That is basically what the law says.
Okay.
It's not
So-
always done.
You could put it in both, though.
We
Oh,
could,
yeah.
but we haven't been. We've been putting it in the closed one, which everybody in the county gets that newspaper, but the official county newspaper, nobody's getting that. So we haven't been putting it in that one, but I think we're supposed to be. Is that right?
Unless there's one that's published in your township is what it says. And like Larry said, there's just not very many of those.
Yeah. Okay. So it should be in the county newspaper.
Right.
Other
But then
Other-
then of course then you get into that, what exactly does published mean, Does that mean printed there or does that mean circulated there? And so if you
Oh.
take that, well, see, every official newspaper has a circulation, I know over the years we've had questions about can I put it in that shopper paper, the free one that you get at the grocery store when you go out the door. Well, those are not quote unquote official newspapers because you can't subscribe to them. In order to be an official newspaper under our state law, you have to be able to get a subscription, and so it can be sent to you. And so, I mean, you can talk to the shopper paper people, and they might send you one, but they don't have a regular subscription rate like a regular newspaper does. So that's kind of the difference. So if the paper has a subscription that you can pay for, so they will send it to you, then I think the argument would be then is that been published to you? So that's a very lenient way to take a look at it. So I know in Cass County, the official county newspaper is the Fargo Forum, but all those townships around Castleton, there's the Castleton Reporter paper, and I know a lot of those townships there they use that paper, and I think they've taken that more liberal definition of the word published, meaning that they subscribe to it and it's circulated to them. So. Um, Probably takes an AG's opinion to follow up on that, but that might be a possibility to take a look at it that way. But it has to be a newspaper uh, that has a circulation and then can be subscribed to. But uh, the official county newspaper, that's what we vote on those, of course, and that's where all the official notices are. So unless you want to take that more liberal view that it's by being able to be sent to me, it's now been published to me. If you want to take that liberal view, then you're gonna have to go with the county newspaper.
Okay, thank you. One of my other notes was it said we needed a hydrologist study to replace a culvert. Did I get that note right? I mean, I know when we replace culverts, it's because there's a hole in the road and the culvert's rusted out from 60 years ago when it was put in, and we just replace it. So I'm not even sure who mentioned it during the annual meeting in Bismarck.
Yeah, there's there's some divergent views on that. The stream crossing standards is what we're talking about, and so, I suppose maybe 25 years ago, State Water Commission and its infinite wisdom came out with it. This is kind of a pet peeve of mine, of course, but we're only supposed to, my understanding was that we were only supposed to have stream crossing standards and actually doing sizing of culverts when we're dealing with drains, established drains. A road ditch is not an established drain, by itself. Now, some road ditches have been made into drains, moving water from point A to point B, but because they've been manipulated that way. But you think of where a road crosses a creek, for example. Well, that's an established drain, and so then you're supposed to size that culvert properly, and those are the ones that are supposed to have stream crossing standards. The problem is when they put that rule in, there wasn't a culvert in the state that was the right size. Because through all the years prior to that, you had a road crossing a creek, you'd dump a culvert in there and cover it up and keep moving. And that's how we did things. And so now all of a sudden, we started seeing some draining going out in the field, and all of a sudden these creeks got to be bigger and bigger. And so that's what was the problem. So that's where the stream crossing standards came. So I've always taken the position that if the reason for the culvert is to merely equalize water on either side of the road, it's really not a drain culvert, then a stream crossing standard is not required. If however, it is part of an established drain, then it is, and then that makes sense, I guess, because it should be sized properly. But then a lot of people they read that pretty finely, and they'll say any culvert's got to be straight, has to be studied, and I just don't know if I agree with that. I think if you got a culvert washed out, and it's due to some spring runoff or some such thing as that, and there's really not, the water really doesn't go anywhere. just sits on either side of the road. It's an equalizer culvert. We say, well, I just don't think we need to have a study on that. But there's people who will argue with me about that. So I think you're never wrong with getting a stream crossing standard study. I don't think you're ever wrong with doing that. But by the same token, if it's not a stream, where's the water going to go? So I think you're okay with at the very least replacing it with the same size as what you took out. When you start making them bigger culverts, making bigger holes, and that's always problems, because now you're trying to drive more water someplace, and now you're in the drainage business, and that's a no-no. So
But
long answer to a short question.
But
Uh,
if you're dealing with waters of the state, a stream crossing, then that's the county's business, not the townships.
When you say waters of the state, what do you mean?
I'm talking about a river, a creek.
Those are established drains. Yeah.
Oh, but those are the business of the county, not the township.
Those are, well, there again, it depends upon, the law says that counties, and here's one for that'll surprise most people. The law says that counties are responsible for replacing culverts on established drains, okay, on township roads. The problem is that over the years, counties have abdicated that, and they'll say, no, that township, that's your responsibility. And so that's where this has come from. And in most counties, what they'll do is they'll say, we'll take the big ones and the townships take the small ones. That's a real common agreement out there. So if your township road crosses a creek, okay, that means that's a drain. That's an established drain. It's a natural drain, but it's a drain nonetheless. And so the law says the county is supposed to supply that culvert. However, if the township and the county over the years have adopted some sort of agreement, then you got to abide by that. And like I say, small culverts, we'll take them. Big culverts, you'll take them. We'll have to define what big and little is, but a lot of counties and townships have done that. So, and the problem is that if you stick to your guns and say, well, county, that's your responsibility, well, then we're not going to do it. And then they'll close the road. They'll force the road to be closed. So that's where the problem comes, is that, somebody's got to get this culvert back in, or otherwise we don't have a road. So that's where the townships have done it. But you're right, Sue, and that's supposed to be county's responsibility, but sometimes they don't do it. And over the years, counties and townships have they've gotten some pretty good agreements, and that they visit every once in a while and about exactly that, who's going to be responsible for what.
Okay, anything more on the culverts?
not for me, thank you.
Thank you for bringing the topic. Anything else out there?
You notice that Wayne was smarting off about being at the state meeting. Well, that's pretty good. He's smarting off, because I suspect a lot of you folks on tonight weren't there, and I'm going to ask, why weren't you there?
I brought it up to my board. I thought I'd shame some of them into getting into this call, but didn't work. So I'll try again when I see them. But
Now, well, this is really a good venue for this kind of thing, because we don't really have any set topic other than just kicking it off with some
What
little
is this
thing, and
thing
then
over here?
away we go. So yeah, so
No, but next to it.
Kevin, you got a hot mic there, Kevin.
Okay, good.
So you
Good
got
job
something
to
what's your question?
My question is, what are the problems if you want to quit maintaining a bridge on a township road over a creek?
Why are you maintaining it in the first place?
Well, the township isn't maintaining it, but a county in South Dakota kind of has responsibility for it, as well as the county in North Dakota. And they've suggested to stop maintaining the bridge, and it's on a road that's not much of a road anymore.
So you must be on how far, you must be on a border township. Are you right on the South Dakota line, your township?
Correct. Barbour Township, Sargent County.
Okay, okay. So is the bridge is in North Dakota though?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Because bridges are definitely the county's responsibility. You know, they've not abdicated those, or at least they're, maybe your county has, but even if it's on a township road, the bridge is the county's responsibility, and they do the inspections, and uh, and they're the ones that can condemn them, you know. And so what's going on there? You want them to quit maintaining, or what's going on there?
Well, it's been suggested to stop maintaining it. My question is, if they stop maintaining it, the safety of the road, are we going to need to close the road on both ends or close the road only at the bridge?
Well, you know, either the bridge is safe or it isn't. You know, so at some point in time, if they're not going to keep working on the bridge, it's going to get condemned. It's not going to be capable of vehicular travel, and so it's going to have to be closed. And so then the county, in theory, would close the bridge, and so the township then is going to have to deal with the road leading up, you know, up to it. So you'd either have to close the road back from wherever you access this thing, or you're gonna have to do something. You're gonna have to have you know, road closed signs and all that kind of stuff. You're gonna have to do all that. Uh, what happens sometimes is when counties, when they condemn the bridge and they take them out, and then of course you got to drop, you know, that you're gonna have to close it then. So and you can't just can't let people keep driving over it if it's been condemned, you know. So what do you have any idea what kind of a weight limit you got on it now?
I don't have any idea. It's, just an old concrete bridge that's been there forever.
Hmm. What's any idea what's going wrong with it? Cracking or what's going on?
Well, it's just on a road that really is kind of closed, just an existing township road that's got washed out in the wet years and so forth. And my, I guess my question is, if this thing is going to fall in there and then it's like it's right on a creek, then pretty soon you got water all over the place. Does it make sense just to tear it out now?
Probably does. You know, I'm laughing a little bit. You know, I got a kick out. You said the road is kind of closed. Well, it's kind of like being sort of pregnant. You know, either it's closed or it isn't. So, but you know, yeah. I mean, you know, yeah. I mean, that's I guess an economic decision. Do we tear the bridge out and fix it? Problem is, you know, who's going to pay for that? I mean, it's a
Well,
county bridge, and so or is it a culvert? Is it a large culvert?
in-
What is it?
No, it's an old concrete traditional
Bridge.
bridge.
Okay, yeah. So,
uh,
because I know that's what's happened with a lot of counties. They've taken the bridge out and then put a big pipe in. You know, they've done that. So now it's no longer a quote unquote a bridge, and so now it's township's responsibility. So,
Mhm.
so, um, according to their agreement. So, yeah, I mean that's a local decision there. You're gonna have to decide locally, I guess, if can we just take this thing out and fix it? But then they're gonna have to argue about who's paying for it. You know, and I suspect
there
the town.
may be there may be state funds available for removing a bridge.
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
They
that's
do
in
have
that.
grants for that.
So
I should
so
look
that
into that.
and that's that grant program from last time.
No, this is a different fund. This is part of the federal bridge money that the state administers.
So would that be in this case, in Kevin's case there, then would that be the county would have to apply for that?
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What's your county say about this, Kevin? What are they saying about this? What are they just want to wash their hands of it, or what's going on?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm just preparing to go to the meeting on the 17th.
Hmm. Well, you may want to visit with, maybe visit with Larry a little bit about that. Maybe if there's some grant money out there that can be, but maybe the county has to do the application for that. That might be something to take a look at. So maybe, I'm assuming, I guess from your discussion, I'm assuming that from a township standpoint, you would like to keep the road open.
Well, we can go either way. If they close the road, nobody's gonna tip over and die.
Well, you gotta remember now, we're talking about township road, right?
Yes.
Well, this is your decision to close the road.
Well,
That's not the county's decision. It's your decision to close the road. It's their decision to close the bridge. And so obviously, if they close the bridge, then the decision to close the road makes it a little easier. But
yes.
they can't, you can keep the road open up to where the bridge was, but then you got to have some pretty crufty signs. You got to have some warning signs and a lot of things there you're going to have to do correctly, and because you got some liability there, so you're going to have to do everything right, and it might be not worth your while to keep that road open for the half mile or whatever it is. Is the bridge right smack dab in the middle of the mile or close to one edge, or what's the deal?
In the middle of the mile.
Yeah, so do you want to have a half mile of road to nowhere, to the end of the bridge? Is there, but you probably need it. You probably need that road to get so the guys can get to the fields on either side. Probably what you need there, or what?
Well, there's fences on both sides, but it's the guys got to get there with their machinery to fix their fence.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to make, you'll have to make the local decision. You'll have to make the local decision as do we want to have this road or not? That's your decision, local needs there. And then if the county decides, well, we're not gonna try to fix this bridge and we're gonna end up condemning it, then we're gonna have a road closed. Then you got to make the decision, do we want to have a half mile of a road that butts up to a drop off where the bridge used to be? So, and that's a decision that you guys have to make. And that's one that can give rise to some dangerous situations there. So you just have to make sure you do that properly. And I guess, and as Larry says, if you can scratch some dollars out of the state, if the county can scratch some bucks out of a grant here to fix it, well, then maybe that's something you want to take a look at too. So
If they condemn the bridge and we close the road and do it right with barricades and reflecting signs and so forth, who pays for that? The township or the county?
it's your road, so you'd have to pay for that. And then of course, once
Okay.
the road is closed, nobody can drive it, including the guys that have the field there. That's the problem. You close the road, you close it to everybody. And that's the downside of closing roads. So and maybe this might be a candidate maybe for abandoning the section line, actually getting rid of the right of way, and then giving each adjacent landowner gets the half of the right of way, so the section line disappears. That's a pretty extraordinary deal. You usually don't like to see that happen, because you can close the road, but the section line is still there. But you can actually go through the process of closing that too and abandoning that. That's a big deal. This might be a candidate for that, but we really hate to see that. So
Well, it's two different states.
two different states, but so when you go the half mile to the bridge, and then if you keep going the next half mile, that's where the South Dakota line is. Is the
No,
entire mile in North Dakota?
entire miles in North Dakota, and it's an east-west road.
Oh, I
But
was
for
thinking it was
some,
north. I was thinking it was north-south. So it's east-west
No.
road. Okay. So is that east-west road? Is that the border?
yes,
Oh, okay. I was going the other way. So okay. So the east-west road is the actual border. So South Dakota's on the south side of the road. Oh, okay. Oh, that makes it a little different. But yeah. So you got some South Dakota law involved there. So I have no clue what South Dakota's rules are on bridges. Who's been maintaining that road? The North Dakota Township or the South Dakota Township, or have you been sharing costs?
the North Dakota Township had been, but once it got washed out, we really other than the first quarter mile is basically a guy's driveway.
Oh, sure.
And then the other 3/4 of a mile, we've just kind of let go.
The plot thickens here, so you got a private driveway on section line. Okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know what to tell you about, because so half that bridge is probably South Dakota's bridge too, then probably, huh?
Well, some reason they gave the South Dakota county jurisdiction over it. That's why they're going to be at the meeting the 17th.
Oh, so South Dakota County has a jurisdiction over the bridge, but it's your township, North Dakota Township Road.
I'm as baffled as you are.
That's quite a story. That's always one of the fun things about these kind of deals. There's always stuff that comes up and say, wow, never heard of that one before. Yeah. I'd be interested to find out so you got a meeting with your county commissioner or the South Dakota County Commission? Who are you meeting with?
We're meeting informing with the county commissioners, but Marshall
No.
County plans on attending, Marshall County being from South Dakota.
So both counties are going to be there.
We hope so.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. Now that grant, Larry, is that a federal grant, you said?
I think it's money from the feds.
So maybe South Dakota would be capable of getting that money too?
I would suppose so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's an interesting thought, so, yeah. Well, that was not an easy question. That was not an easy question, but it'd be interesting to hear what your meeting does here, but you might want to check up, Kevin, on that grant possibility, just see what's there and what is it that that the counties could apply for, because they may not know about it.
Yeah. Would that grant money apply to both putting a new, let's say, a box culvert in there or removing the bridge?
I believe that grant is only for removal.
Only for removal. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Been very
Yeah.
helpful.
Okay, any other topics for this evening?
That last discussion brought something to my mind. I mean, do you guys, how do you share a township road with a different township? How do you decide who's responsible, who pays for it?
Well, usually it's a agreement made years back. In some cases, they do 50% of all expenses on whatever part is maintained. In some cases, they do 3 miles to this township and 3 miles to the other township. Or it can be every other mile. So basically whatever was agreed to years ago is what's still happening.
So basically the townships, I don't want to say enter into a contract, but they make an agreement with the other township and you just live by that.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And hopefully that's in the minutes somewhere way back in ancient history. And hopefully the minutes have been kept. Should there ever be a question on that.
Okay.
But I suppose that can be revisited from time to time, because as conditions change, when you think about it, every township's got 24 miles, 6 by 6 by 6 by 6. You got 24 miles of border section lines. Some of those section lines have roads on them, some of them don't, and maybe over the years, that you've added some roads or taken some away. So I suspect that the agreement, could be reviewed from time to time, but like Larry said, I've heard of all different kinds of arrangements that different townships have, but yeah, when you think about it, the township's been there than longer than any of us, and so obviously there's been an agreement in place somewhere that back in the 1889, I suspect, is probably when some of those agreements got made. They should be in those old minutes.
Yeah, I'm not sure how far back the clerk was looking for it, couldn't find anything. So we basically met with the other township and came up with a new agreement and then put that in the minutes that from today forward, we're gonna do it this way.
You mean you wrote some things down? Well, isn't that a novel, not a novel idea?
Well, we thought we'd try it once just to see if it worked or not.
God,
Uh,
write stuff down. How about that? That's pretty
well,
neat.
well, we're not sure we wrote it down right, but we did get it in our meeting minutes and their meeting minutes, but I don't know that we shared it with the county, so maybe that's probably something we have to do yet too. Open meeting laws, then now, like when our township was talking to the other township about this road, does that follow the same rules? It has to go in the county newspaper?
No, they
all-
do not. Your meetings do not have to go in the county newspaper.
No, when we're talking to the other townships, I mean, do we have to just give it to the auditor and say, hey, we're having this meeting between two townships?
That's right. The two townships should be notifying the auditor that they're having a meeting.
Okay, so just on the county calendar then, basically.
Right.
Okay, great, thanks.
And just to clarify, you're talking about the two township are meeting. You're talking about the two township sets of supervisors are meeting.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Because with supervisors meeting do not require newspaper notice. Okay, you need to have county auditor notice and what's called reasonable notice. But if you have the actual township resident meetings, those are required in the newspaper. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks again.
Wayne, make sure that that you change or correct that road on your certified road miles as well. So that
Well, so
you're
that's part of it too. We're okay. There's a 6 mile shared. There's only road on 3 miles. You know, we've discussed, we'll share the cost of gravel and culverts 50-50 between the two. And we're going to share 1.5 miles on our tax claims and 1.5 miles on their tax claims. We didn't get to the detail of saying you're going to claim the 1.5 miles on the north side and I'm going to claim the 1.5 miles on the south side. We haven't got that far yet.
oh
But I mean, we come to agreement that we're just going to split the cost 50-50 and whatever like that. So I'm still trying to get it straightened out, but yeah, I think we got it covered with what you guys have said.
yeah, just make sure that that it's correct on your certified road miles as well, so that your funding that goes along with those certified road miles follows to which township it should be given to. So
right, I got that note. Thank you.
yeah.
Well, do we have any other topics to discuss here tonight?
Overbowl out there, is that Normanna Township? Joyce Overbowl, is that Normanna Township? Are you there, Joyce? Got a feeling that's who that is, so, but he's not talking to me, so.
Maybe stepped away to get a cup of coffee.
Sure.
Or maybe not getting it off mute. He's on. Sure, Joyce is muted.
I did not on mute, but you know, I gave Wayne a little. I pulled his leg a little bit about being at the state convention. We're glad he was there, but you know, we always try to get more people to show up at our meetings, at our conventions, and our workshops. But you know, we hope to get more people that come on this Township Tuesday as well. So you could help with all these who could help us with by spreading the word a little bit and getting some of your counterparts on board with us as well. So, and you don't have to, obviously you don't have to ask questions. You don't have to speak. You don't have to say anything, but hopefully, you know, there's things that come to the table that just like tonight we heard about a South Dakota bridge problem. So you just never know what's going to be on the other end. So it's kind of, you know, we learn something every time we do this. So.
Do we have any more questions out there? Well, I'm gonna point out that, yeah, I sent the link out, constant contact. Not everybody gets those things all the time. We're having a lot of trouble with that, with emailing. It's almost as bad as, postal mailing. It's getting to be, but in all cases, you go to the, NDTOA website and click on calendar, and the date of the meeting will be, we'll list this, meeting, and you click on that, the link will be there. Might be, and if you lose your email that I send out, you can go back to the calendar and the link will be there, so it should always be handy. Anybody think of any other questions while I was yammering there?
Or any topics for next month. I suspect next month will be just starting the legislature, I suspect, right?
I
So,
think it's the 14th.
yeah, so we'll have, maybe we'll have already we'll have some news and bills that are in the hopper, and we might have some bill numbers and things like that, so.
Right. And of course, we're gonna be doing the weekly legislative updates, and they'll be posted on the website, and we'll be sending them out by constant contact. So you can watch for those. Yeah. Any more questions out there? Anything more you wanted to add, Lee?
No, I think we've covered everything quite well. Just a reminder though, if there is concerns that township officers have about the upcoming legislative session, please get a hold of us and keep us informed on items that you're concerned with, so we can kind of watch what's going on there and during legislative session, and hopefully get issues resolved that we have here. So
Right, we have to know about those issues right now. You can't bring something up in a month and expect us to get something done. The deadlines will be gone. We just can't get anything going after a couple of weeks into the session, and that door closes on us. So we got to know now if you need something. So
Hey, Larry, I just wanted to pipe in. I surely greatly appreciate you guys doing this, because every time I listen, you guys always bring up a topic that, we're learning something from. So I appreciate you guys doing that. And then something to think about too for January or in February is maybe any of the clerks out there that need some help with their paperwork before their annual meeting. So thanks, Larry.
right. Well, thank you for that, Julie. If anybody needs help with their ATLR, you'll want to contact Julie there. And so, anything else from anybody before we call it an evening here? I want to thank you all for coming on here. This is still an experiment. We're hoping this will grow. We had a really good turnout here tonight. I hope we can continue that. And like we've said before, if you think of something that you'd like us to discuss or explore, do some research on before the next Township Tuesday, please let me know, and we'll work it into the program, and we'll put it out in the meeting notice, that we've got a topic, so people will know what at least one of the topics will be for the evening. So, Oh, well, with that, last call for questions?
Say, Larry,
Yes,
can you, on the next one, kind of give a little bit of update or heads up on the Bismarck Day for the township officers at our next Zoom?
yes, yes. Thank you, Dale. Yes, we'll be working with the Association of Counties, the League of Cities, the school districts, the park districts. We're putting on a legislative, or it's a local government capital connection. It's going to be a lot of activities down at the Bismarck Event Center and up at the Capitol, attending the sessions and hearings, and that will be a big social, be over 500 people there at the event center. And we'll be putting out the program for that. We'll be talking a lot more about that at our next meeting, and it'll be in the newsletter that we hope to get out about mid January. So watch for the details on that. I'll be putting it on the website very shortly here, that you can register for that. Register for the local government's capital connection. Going the whole thing down at the event center and all that, there's a $60 a head charge for that. If you don't want to do that, though, we are offering just township officers at the Capitol for February 19th. Just come up there and spend the day. You know, we'll put a name tag on you, and everybody will know we've got township officers in the Capitol that day. So it'll be an option. Either you do the capital connection, go to the social. There's meals down there and speakers. It's a very worthwhile thing, but not everybody may want to do that. So we're gonna let you do it either way. So
And you may have the opportunity that you can go sit down on the floor with your senator, but you need to make sure you're not wearing blue jeans, that you are in decent dress.
that's right. There's gonna be some restrictions going into the Senate. But the House will be pretty much open for the gallery. I'm not exactly sure how things are gonna play in the Senate. They've come with some new rules over there, where can't have anybody in the back of the chambers there half an hour before the session starts. So exactly how that's gonna work, I don't know. But the other side of the hallway is still welcoming. So we'll take our business there.
So you mean no shorts and flip flops in February, huh?
That's right. Even the governor got booted out for that. Not the shorts and flip flop, it was blue jeans, but. Well, thank you for reminding us on that, Dale. Well, any other questions, reminders? If not, we'll again say thank you for joining us tonight. You're helping us make this program work, and we appreciate your attendance here. With that, I'm gonna bid you all good night.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yep. Thank you
Merry
everyone for
Christmas.
attending.